Circadian rhythms control when we want to be awake, when we want to be asleep, as well as our alertness, cognitive abilities, and movement functioning. Circadian rhythms can be affected by stress and anxiety and lead to serious consequences. REM sleep is the stage of sleep in which dreaming occurs. It is characterized by rapid eye movement under the closed eyelids, paralyzed muscles, and possibly dreaming. How jet lag affects Jet lag is the severe disruption of our normal body clocks, often characterized by taking flights around the world into very different time zones. Sleep deprivation, often caused by things such as jet lag, many times over, can have serious detrimental effects on your brain. A study done on flight attendants showed that flight attendants that were allowed more time to recover between long cross-country flights had better brain activity than those that had shorter time. Those that had shorter time were found to have higher levels of cortisol, also known as the stress hormone. They also had parts of the temporal cortex and hippocampus were smaller in short-term recovery than the long-term group. The temporal cortex and hippocampus are associated with learning and memory. Studies have shown that when sleep is lacking, decision-making skills decrease dramatically in humans and animals. A particular study in the 1960s showed that after 36 hours of being awake, when a person is very sleep deprived, they have trouble making decisions and may even try to make the same decisions over and over. When a situation like this occurs, the brain tries to compensate. A study showed that during brain scans, patients were asked to do a verbal fluency task, which requires the participant to come up with as many words beginning with a certain letter as possible, after a normal night of sleep, but not after sleep deprivation. People that were tired or sleep deprived had activated parietal lobes, while people that were not sleep deprived did not, showing that the brain tries to compensate when it is overtired. Just like during sleep, studies have shown that napping increases learning ability. The brain reactivations during sleep can reflect reinforcement of connections between neurons that are important for the task, allowing new skills to be incorporated into long-term memories.
Hypnosis, a form of focused attention and absorption, is paired with an increase of activity of the frontal lobe and visual cortex. The importance of emotions are that emotions almost always involve memories, and most of the stronger memories always involve emotion. The amygdala is important for the emotional system and long-term memories associated with fear or sadness. Activation of the amygdala during emotional events is why emotional events are better remembered. The amygdala and hippocampus are located in the center of the brain, and the hippocampus is important for non-emotional memories, and connections between the amygdala and hippocampus is why memories of emotional events are so quickly established and long-lasting. The amygdala is also used for fear conditioning. It responds to danger extremely quickly and efficiently and is crucial for survival. It also is an unconscious act. The amygdala interrupts ongoing activity to induce quick responses to dangerous situations and also enhance perception of potentially dangerous stimulus and also helps us prioritize. Research shows that only damage to the left amygdala matters for perceiving potentially dangerous situations. As you view the next two slides in rapid succession, you will clearly be able to tell what each word means. Attentional blink is the period of time that your brain needs to recover from reading one word before it is able to perceive the next. This is not there for emotional words like rape or murder. because the importance of these words and the significance of these words in our mind overrides the need for that attentional blink. In patients with left amygdala damage, the attentional blink is also there for these words. Here you see a boy looking at a cookie on a plate and wondering if he should eat the cookie now or wait for the adult to return and receive 2 cookies for waiting. This is called delayed gratification. It is not there in most young children because the frontal lobe is not yet fully developed, and the frontal lobe is what controls decision-making processes. The dopamine system, which is located in the frontal lobe and the limbic system, is associated with risk-taking behaviors and rewards. It responds to pleasurable stimuli to give us our happy feelings. In a normal brain, there is a transmitting neuron which will release dopamine into a synaptic cleft where a receiving neuron will then absorb the dopamine to the receptors. This is what sends the happy feeling through your brain. The receiving neuron will then release the dopamine back into the cleft, and it is then reabsorbed into the transmitting neuron to be reused. When using narcotic drugs, the drugs often imitate dopamine, and when they reach the brain, they often create not only increased receiving levels for dopamine and dopamine-like structures, but they also block the reuptake of dopamine, which causes the transmitting neuron to continuously send out dopamine to the receiving neuron. With the excess dopamine in the synaptic cleft and the dopamine imitators, the drugs, there is a huge increase in a pleasant feeling that is unattainable otherwise. To combat this, the receiving neuron will start to decrease its receptors for dopamine, and this causes brain damage. In the frontal lobe, where the dopamine system is located, it is often used to control risk-taking behaviors and decision-making processes. It is said that this is what controls your decisions such as gambling, and that an increase in dopamine during gambling will often cause you to want to keep gambling, and the frontal lobe's job is to tell you not to. With increased dopamine levels, there is an increase in memory. In an experiment done where patients had to remember a string of words, some were offered a thanks after the project, some were offered rewarding phrases, and some were given money. Those who were offered money and had increased dopamine levels because of it often were much more likely to remember the words that they had been asked to look at. Caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, and glucose have all been related to either increasing or inhibiting the learning effects. There are also several other compounds that have either been related to increasing or inhibiting the learning process, but none with a significant result. The placebo effect is when a patient is told they are given a drug, when in reality they are given something with no medicine related. The distribution of this placebo often causes the brain to react in a way that is very similar or the same as if the patient had received the drug. This is because the brain thinks that it is receiving the drug, so therefore it acts in the same way. Both water and glucose are 2 very important factors for the brain. Water and glucose are needed for healthy brain development and function. And as a result, when your brain functions healthily, it is going to remember more. Most of the time, you can improve your memory by just drinking more water. Foods such as fish, eggs, milk, bananas, other protein-rich fruits, and even vegetables have been shown to have significant increases in tryptophan and L-phenylalanine. As a result, these two amino acids will increase serotonin and adrenaline levels in the brain. Serotonin and noradrenaline levels in the brain will cause an increase in good mood and happy feelings. Also very important for brain activity, function, and development are long-chain fatty acids, such as omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. These can be found in fish. These are important for cognitive thinking, brain synapses, and eye development. They are very important because cell membranes need fatty acids to create their bilipid layer.